Right, we've got a brilliant guest for you today. Today we're joined by Dr. Elaine Smith, who's a clinical psychologist and a business wellbeing consultant who's all about making workplaces more compassionate. She's a psychological wellbeing lead at Hope.io and co-founder of Think Resilience, a new leadership retreat launching in East Lothian this April. East Lothian, that's my granny used to live in East Lothian.
Yeah, we had a good chat about Scotland, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love going up there. Davidson's Mains, if you're listening, Dr. Elaine, tell us how far you are from Davidson's Mains. That's where my granny lived. Anyway, Elaine's work focuses on helping leaders feel more confident about talking about mental health with their teams. Her Creating Compassionate Workplaces course gives leaders the tools they need to support their staff without the fear of saying the wrong thing.
With experience in the NHS, corporate HR and her own private practice, Dr. Elaine knows how much of an impact good leadership can have on mental health at work. She is all about building real human connections that boost staff morale, retention and business success. Dr. Elaine, over to you.
My hot take is that leaders need support no matter how much they're paid, how senior the role is, and how much it looks like they've got it all together. I think from a young age, we are conditioned by others around us to think that adults have got it all together. So when we're kids, I've long reflected on this, but I think, we think that teachers, for example, have it all together. As in, they don't find life difficult, they don't find the work stressful. I mean, I know there are moments where that doesn't look like that, but just generally, that's the sense I picked up. And then parents, obviously there's this balance of containment. Parents want to contain their emotions for the children, which is brilliant, but not showing vulnerability is really what I'm saying. So, that it brings me to that leaders are human. And I think that sometimes there's that attitude that, well, that's what they get paid the big bucks for. They can deal with that. If they're stressed, it doesn't matter as much. That's sometimes the feeling or the sense that I've got in different places in the past. And all the research and evidence points to the opposite, actually, that it's completely win-win when we support our leaders and when we support them to show vulnerability in the workplace. I mean, obviously the work of Brené Brown's sort of huge in this about leading with vulnerability, and the statistics are really high. I mean, 71% of leaders say they want to leave work because of mental health difficulties. 54% feel isolated. I mean, the numbers are huge. It's almost like the evidence is so compelling, yet there's still few leaders that are showing vulnerability in the workplace. And we also know that builds connection with people. So if we think somebody has so got it all together that they are not feeling stressed, or they don't have the same feelings or experiences as we do, they find it harder to connect to them. Because we like to see people's human parts, don't we? We like to see their imperfections. We like just to see that they're a real person. And that helps us to connect rather than this person who always looks immaculately put together and doesn't really show much fluctuation in emotion.
Why do you think this is becoming more important? Is it the changing sentiment of generations joining the workplace? Is it the rise of social media? We're more aware? Or as you say, we're just getting to a point of poor mental health that something has to be done?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, as you say, but I think it's from what I see. It's just what I see is that, I mean, I've had many individual clients come to me who are in senior leadership positions who just cannot feel like they can't even talk about it at all at work. They might have disclosed it for the first time to me, or they might have told a manager they were off with something else. So I think there's very sort of localized problems and there's more organizational problems. And as usual, there's societal issues. But I mean, yes, Gen Z's probably spurring us on. But definitely something that we need to address. I mean, I was even thinking of like examples of leaders who like big time leaders like Jacinda Ardern. Whenever she said there was nothing left in the tank. Simone Biles as well when she took time off for her mental health. And what I find surprising about that is that people find it so surprising, because we don't see them as human beings. I know they're different examples because they're sort of still in the celebrity mix, but they're still people. So I'm always surprised at what we find surprising, because I guess I don't see it like that. I just see that we're all people, and these pedestals we put people on are just made up.
What I'm imagining people will be saying is, yeah, you say that we should have compassion for leaders and we should understand that they're human as well. But let's be honest, the CEO to employee salary pay gap has never been bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. We're seeing stories from people like Meta who are laying off thousands of employees and then increasing their executive bonuses. Should we feel that sorry for these leaders who are making a lot of money while there's so many other people with equal mental health challenges, arguably more challenges because they don't have the finances and resources to access support?
No, I definitely think it changes how we view it. However, if we do work towards supporting these people, no matter what role they're in, if we can get to these people to open them up to thinking compassionately about themselves and others, maybe in time that'll close the pay gap. Maybe that's the way in, because it's that we need to all be human. It's about relationships. If they knew more about the struggles each way, I think that can only be helpful. But of course, what you're saying, I mean, that's never going to be an overnight solution to that. And I get that people will be like, well, it's all right for them. It's all right for them. But sometimes it's not all right for them. They might have money, might have a lot of money, which is one thing. But other than that, we don't see the other struggles that they have.
I guess the other thing that I'd thinking and given the current context we're in, what we're seeing from Trump and Musk and Zuckerberg about this talk of masculine energy needed back in leadership. How would you work with somebody like that who is, that type of leader? I can't imagine, I wouldn't know where to start. Where do you start as a clinical psychologist, Elaine?
I've talked about this with people before, actually. I think, so there's some people we're not going to convert to this stuff, if you like, to this openness about mental health and well-being. I think we always start with education, and we always start with building the relationship. So if there was somebody like that close, then that's all we can do. We can only try to connect, and we can try to understand where they're coming from, because as we know as psychologists, all their beliefs have come from somewhere. So we could try to understand them as people. I think that's where we've got to go first, rather than trying to convert them to what we think is right, which isn't necessarily right. But obviously there are, extreme examples there that you've given, that people that, could do a little bit of work in compassionate leadership, we would imagine.